Here's a very interesting story in The Hill, and I only mention it because it reverberates across social media as well as the national media. Democrats condemn RFK Jr. over reprehensible COVID-19 remarks. Robert F. Kennedy is facing fierce backlash over his claims that the COVID-19 virus was manipulated to target white and black people while avoiding Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese people. Now, as I'll mention in a moment, this is a false statement. This is not something that Robert F. Kennedy said. We'll come to what he said in a moment, but the article goes on the conspiratorial comments. And once again, we have this insinuation of a conspiracy theory. Now, let's remember, if the US government in conjunction with the Chinese government is funding gain-of-function research, if they are cooking up viruses, they're working on it together, this is called a conspiracy. And by conspiracy, all we mean is a group of people performing some nefarious task collectively, working together. So simply to call it a conspiracy theory is not to invalidate anything. It simply means we have to look at the evidence of what is actually going on. But The Hill is certainly right that these comments have caused a firestorm among Democrats. And so you've got these Democrats now saying that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is not qualified to be president and should drop out of the race. Anyone who traffics in anti-Asian and anti-Semitic conspiracy theories are unworthy, I think he means is unworthy, of the highest office in the land. This is Representative Richie Torres of New York, Democrat, of course. And there are other remarks to this effect. What I find really disturbing is that members of the Kennedy family have also been weighing in. Now, I'm assuming that they're put up to it by the Democratic National Committee and by their connections on the left. But here's Kerry Kennedy, the sister of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. She serves on the board of the Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Organization, said she, quote, strongly condemns her brother's, quote, deplorable and untruthful remarks. So think about this. You've got a Kennedy running for the presidency. And far from getting the Camelot treatment, he's getting the Trump treatment in a sense. And I can only assume that part of the reason for this is because he poses a threat to Biden. It didn't seem that he would originally. It seemed that, well, the Democrats going to have their nomination process locked up, and they probably still do. They have a way of corralling all the money into one pool and putting it on Biden. And so it's really difficult for an outsider. But at the same time, if you look at polls, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been climbing in the polls. He's now in double digits. He's being taken seriously. A lot of people are like, I don't like Biden. I want somebody else for the Democratic nomination. And naturally, they're going to look at Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And so there is this coordinated campaign by the Democrats and the media to spike this guy, to sort of sink his campaign. Now, what exactly did Robert F. Kennedy Jr. say? He was in a restaurant. He was talking about COVID. And he made sort of three observations, which are not identical. They're all being sort of glommed together. One is he suggested the possibility, not the certainty, but the possibility that COVID-19 was engineered as a bioweapon. It doesn't mean that the Chinese released it as a bioweapon. It means that they were making a bioweapon that somehow it got out. So it could be both that COVID-19 was created as a bioweapon and that it leaked out. Those two are not mutually exclusive. So I think that's point number one. The second point that Kennedy Jr. was making is he was saying that these viruses, these diseases, including COVID-19, do not affect all ethnic groups equally. And by the way, there's nothing surprising about this. There are all kinds of diseases that don't affect ethnic groups equally. And in fact, you can go further to say that there are certain types of diseases like Tay-Sachs disease and others that disproportionately fall or reach a particular ethnic group. So much more so than any other. And so there's nothing inherently controversial about this either. All you have to do, it's a simple empirical question. You have COVID-19, you take 100 randomly selected, let's just say whites, blacks, Asian Americans, let's just take some Ashkenazi Jews, and you just look and see what is the likelihood that they're going to get it, what's the likelihood that they will face serious infection, what's the likelihood that they will recover quickly. So this is something that is an open question. And it wouldn't surprise me in the least. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. goes, I've got some studies, and he attaches them, that talk about the fact that these viruses do not affect ethnic groups equally. And COVID-19 specifically makes whites and blacks more vulnerable and makes Asians and ethnic Ashkenazi Jews less vulnerable. So this is not a conspiracy theory. This is an open question that has to be investigated. And of course, the final question, and here is where the sort of sly media insinuation comes in, that somehow Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is saying that he knows that COVID-19 was intended to get rid of more whites and blacks and spare the Asians and spare the Ashkenazi Jews. And I went back and looked at Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and his comments are conversational, so they're a little bit muddled in a sense, but it's pretty clear he's not saying that. Or to put it differently, it is not clear that he was saying that. So here's a case where the left has grabbed onto this thing. Of course, they get to accuse him of being a racist, engaging in ethnic stereotypes, blah, blah, blah. But this is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. just breaking the mold, refusing to go along with the prevailing left-wing narrative, and that's really what he's being punished for. We're in one of the most vulnerable times in U.S. history with our markets and our economy, and it calls for an expert financial advisor for your investments. Yet, most Americans are with the conventional ride out the dips in the market advisors that have kept recycling the same advice since the 1980s. That advice will fail you today. Luckily, my friend Rebecca Walser is different. You've seen her on the podcast. She has an excellent grasp of global economic issues and also economic issues in this country. She's a tax attorney, a wealth strategist. She has a global MBA from the London School of Economics. Rebecca's seen what is coming and protected her clients back at the end of 2021. She can do the same for you now. Debbie and I did a call with Rebecca's team to talk about our investments, and we are moving forward. So please join us. Go to friendofdinesh.com to book a call with Rebecca Walser's team today. That's friendofdinesh.com to secure your investments and your future.